breakfast network is part of the corporate leadership program, a program that has been initiated or that has been rolling since 2016, a program that seeks to bring together women from different corporate backgrounds. We're looking at attracting leadership positions in companies, because we know most of the women who are already in managerial positions, they're always looking at how to get to the next level. Most of them want to be on the boardroom. So what are some of the steps that they need to take to get there? So these are some of the things that do not just come in a short period of time. These are some of the things that you need to strategically plan for it. And that is why the network, we usually invite C-suite directors or top leaders or women we know have got a lot of experience to manage such stations, because having this experience simply means you must have gone through the ropes. You pull the ropes and you have experience in different corporate settings. You've seen it, you've done it, you've got the t-shirts. So that is how it works. So today we have our executive director, Elizabeth, who is going to bring the theme to life. So she's going to bring the theme on how to develop a growth mindset to life, meaning she's going to be preparing the grounds for Mitwa, who is our keynote speaker for today. Mitwa Kaemba is the CEO of MTN Cameroon. She's from Zambia. She's worked with MTN and the telecoms company in leadership positions for over 10 years. And she has a passion for women initiatives and growth. She also has a passion for innovation, and she loves driving change. So that said, I'm going to introduce Elizabeth Burns, CFO Burns and Cameroon. She's sitting right here. So Elizabeth will be exploring how to develop a growth mindset, and Jane will be running the workshop, and when Mitwa gets here, we're going to have the interview for some of the questions that we have planned. So thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. We're very happy to have you here this morning, and Adeline, thank you very much always for your support and organizing these events and making them perfect in every single way. We don't talk about numbers, we talk about quality. So if we only have 5 people, we know we're going to impart a lot of knowledge to 5 people. If we have 100 people, well, all the better, because we know that can multiply the effects throughout their terrain and their domain. So having a growth mindset is really having a pathway to your destiny, creating a roadmap so that you can be the best you can be. It's a very personal plan, and it incorporates a lot of hard work, inner focus, and looking at yourself to ensure that you can be better, go on and do better, and help other people be better as well, you know. So growth continues all your life, from a small child, through school, through sports, through academia, through your career, through your personal life, through your marriage and your relationships, and through giving back in terms of a legacy, and through your spiritual journey. And in the end of the day, when you depart this world into your eternal life, what you've left behind and what you've done and what you've been accountable for. So it's about accountability. It's about having that mindset to learn, to know that you can acquire new skills and talents, and to bring those into your daily practice, to measure those at certain areas and points in your life. So it could be daily, looking back on your daily actions every day. It can be weekly, it can be monthly, it can be annually. Sometimes it takes 10 or 20 years to build what you need to build in terms of resilience, tenacity, be able to do public speaking, to be able to go out and deal with very difficult consequences in life. So it's about your continual professional development and your continuing personal development. Both lines are there. So from my experience, I mean, I've always been one to go out and do things, to pioneer a new path, to take advantage of every opportunity, to fail when I have to fail, make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, learn from others' mistakes, apply those learnings and do better. Also impart those learnings to others so that they don't make the same mistakes in life as I have done. Yeah? So it's lifelong. You will continue until you basically depart this world. Let me give you an example of my mother. She was the first to go to university in her family. She was born in 1933. This year she turns 90. She's at the University of the Third Age. So she's still continuing to learn. She's still associated with the universities in South Africa and acquiring new skills and knowledge. So it's about curiosity. It keeps you mentally alert, agile. It also makes you focus internally on yourself and look at areas in your life where you can actually be better than you need to be in comparison with maybe people of the same age category or people of lower age categories. So keep that mental outlook strong. It leads to a very good physical, healthy outlook as well in life, and it also encompasses you to achieve your spiritual life and journey as well. So I'm a great promoter of personal development. I'm a great promoter of the growth mindset. I know it helps you to address your fears. So for instance, I had a terrible accident when I just finished school. It took me 3 years to recover. I lost 2 years at university and I had to start again. So I went through first year, and first year 3 times. Yeah? So I was too ill to complete a year, and many other things happened in those years. So it teaches you to manage adversity. It teaches you to never give up. You can never give up on life. You have to have the grit to keep on going. You have to have the internal resilience and tenacity to face those situations. Many situations you'll face in life, you cannot go and ask anybody to help you. Sometimes there is no help. Sometimes you cannot share some of those experiences. Sometimes you need to work through it on your own. That's how you grow and overcome. Yeah, never have the fixed mindset of allowing yourself to stay in a rigid place saying, oh, my skills and abilities and characteristics and talents will make me successful in life. No, that's not the best mindset to have. You have to have the growth mindset, apply it, adopt it, live it, practice it, believe it, breathe it, and make sure it takes you to your destiny, which can be the stars in your plans, the stars in your actions. It's about your personal mission statement. It's about your personal vision, where you're going to go to get there and how you're going to go to get there. In work, it's a different domain. So work, obviously, sometimes you have to jump. You have to jump to bigger opportunities. You sometimes face and put in the middle of the ocean and feel like you're drowning in some of these positions. When they recruit you, they never tell you the truth. They never tell you that the company is going bankrupt. They never tell you we made 10 years losses. No, they say you'll be good for the position, you've got all the right skills and capabilities, etc., etc. But the biggest growth comes from accepting those opportunities, overcoming those struggles, jumping in the deep end, swimming in the deep end, sometimes when the waves are over your head. So it's about never giving up, grit, tenacity, resilience, humility, strength of character, and also the internal work that you need to do. For me, it's been a lifetime. I'm still not there with many things in my life that I want to achieve. I have a good and happy and fulfilled life, but there's so much more that I can be and can become. So it's taking every opportunity. It's taking every opportunity to get up and do your public speaking. It's taking every opportunity to go and develop new skills. It's taking every opportunity to go out there and network and do the relational connectivity to build your stock of capital. It's about taking stock of your own life, looking at the 7 wheels of your own life. So looking at your vitality and health, looking at your leadership and legacy, looking at your love and relationships, looking at your productivity and performance, and the many other spheres that you can look at and measure in your life. So there's many tools out there to help you assess. There's also a personal path that you must carve for yourself. Never blame your circumstances, never blame your past, never blame anybody. Just take accountability. You're responsible to put into yourself the perfect seed, plant a perfect seed, grow that perfect seed. Look at the environment in which that perfect seed is growing in. Remove, prune and trim all the dead wood. You want to be able to produce the best fruit possible. So, in a way, sometimes you have to take hard decisions in your life to grow. The best thing is to believe in yourself, grow, develop, continue learning, continue practicing everything. So it's hard skills, it's soft skills, it's relational skills, it's your behavior, it's your choices. You make the wrong choices early on, it can destroy the path down the line, and it's more difficult to change and adopt a change at that point in your life. So it's best to learn early in life. It's best to share this with your sisters, your brothers, your siblings, your parents. I think even for me and my mum, it was quite a nice thing to understand her path and her journey, which at the age of almost 90, she's beginning to open up and share with me the obstacles, the matters in her life that impeded her from achieving even much more than she could achieve. But still, she's very happy at 90, and I can see she's still growing and learning. She's got that open mind. She's got the willingness to take feedback constructively, to take criticism constructively, to look at yourself, to reflect, to meditate on your life, and then to ensure you understand yourself fully, inside out. That's a lifetime of work, I think, and I think we can all attest to that we do the same thing daily at the top levels. We do the same for the companies at the top levels. We try to impart the same knowledge into our colleagues, into our family, siblings and brothers and sisters, into our parents, into our children, and especially into the children, because if they know what we know now, they'll have a much better life and an easier path. They'll make better decisions. They'll work on themselves. They'll have the courage and confidence to make the mistakes and then go on to try and try again, because nothing's a failure in life. It's only a learning. Yeah? We're not going to let anybody bury us if they talk us down and put us on the ground. We need to be able to stand up and say, well, I'll work on that. Maybe that's one area of my life, or one attribute, or one type of issue on my personality, or soft skill that I need to deal with, but let's deal with it and take it forward. So it is an ongoing, foresighted and forward-looking way of looking at life, the growth mindset. Fixed mindsets just really stay static. They're not prepared to face their fears. They're not prepared to want to make an error. They want to be right. And they want everybody to see them as perfect and smart. But we all know we can grow by acquiring knowledge and skills. It's the effort we put into that. It's the dedication. It's a lifetime dedication of learning, continuous development, etc. So on that note, I'd like to now hand over to the next panel, which is Mitwa, so we can stay on time.
So I'm going to introduce our keynote. I'm going to start by saying she's a mom, she's a wife. Having more than 10 years in leadership position in the telecoms company, passion, diversity and inclusion, focus on supporting women to take the next step in their career is one of the things that, or some of the reasons that we thought you were the most appropriate person to have you on our network, because we represent that as well. So I said I was not going to read the script, but I'm sure with the few that I've said, I have tried to put it together, and I'll let her tell us more. It's better when she tells us. So I'm going to introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, our keynote for today. Let me get her mic. Thank you.
Morning. How are you? Nice to meet you. Finally. Corporate women in leadership. I don't know anybody here apart from Mary Rose and my dear sister over here, because I met her very briefly at the Sawil event. So, and I know I can't go through names of everybody, but if you can just shout for me the different functions that you represent. So are you an entrepreneur? Are you in corporate? Are you in marketing? Are you in legal? Just so I can hear who's in this open room. HR. Shout it out, shout it out. Procurement, CX, did you say? Sales, all right, sustainability, all right. Who else?
CFO,
finance, all right. So I'm on
fashion.
Maybe you and me have to talk. Maybe you and I have to talk after this. But it seems I'm around some really smart women. So I'm really honored to have a chat with you this morning. And I hope you're clear because I can't hear myself. You guys can hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. So I was asked to come and talk about the growth mindset, right? And like anybody in this role today, when you have no idea what that means, what do? You Google, right? Because I have to be honest with you, when you ask me to talk about growth mindset, what is that? I actually have no idea. So like anybody would do, I Googled late last night, what actually is the growth mindset? And if any of you did that as well, you probably saw a couple of common themes, right? So growth mindset, people who have the growth mindset are people who don't see challenges in challenges, they don't see obstacles in obstacles, they only see opportunities for growth, right? Oh, and Mary Rose will tell you I'm that kind of speaker who cannot speak just one way. So I need to feel that what I'm saying is actually making sense. So please do respond to me. So growth mindset, you're always exploring, trying to see how you can do more, be more. And it's not even in pursuit of more. It's only in wanting more of yourself, right? So when we talk growth mindset, we're not necessarily talking you must accomplish and acquire more. No, that's not the point. The point is how can I be more than I was yesterday? Next week, how can I be more than I was this week? By the end of this year, there is no way, Madam Procurement, you can be the same person that you entered into 2023 as. That's what the growth mindset is about. And of course, the opposite, right? Or according to Google at least, was the fixed mindset. And the fixed mindset, as you can understand, was everything that the growth mindset is not, right? Fixed mindset, you see a challenge coming from that direction, you run in the opposite direction. You're really comfortable in where you are. I'm good at what I do, no problem. There's nothing broken here, so why must I fix it? This zone of comfort, that fixed mindset. And when I was reading these definitions, actually yesterday, late last night, I realized that I myself have gone through,
Yes.
without necessarily knowing that it's fixed and it's growth, but I recognized a bit of my journey through these various definitions. So maybe now I can tell you a bit about myself. So I'm originally from Zambia, like she rightly mentioned. I've been in Cameroon now for 9 months, full gestation period. And I feel actually really a coming of sorts because it's only 9 months later that I actually have time to lift my head and say, okay, so who are the corporate women in the environment? So no telling why 9 months exactly later, I'm having this conversation with corporate women. Yeah! So anyway, I'm originally from Zambia, and I won't tell my whole story because that could probably take us a couple of days, but maybe just the parts I'll summarize that are relevant to the topic. So I actually studied in school technology. So I'm an engineer by training, okay? And I only studied technology because young, coming out of the 12th grade, going into university, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I met this dean, when you go to university, there are these open houses that are held. And I met this guy who told me, if you have no idea what you want to do, study technology, because technology, you can work in any field after that. So if you want to be a pharmacist, you want to be a procurement specialist, you want to be in HR, with technology you have a good foundation, you can work anywhere. So I said, okay, for the most indecisive person there is, technology is probably the thing I should go after. So I studied technology. And I got my very first job on the continent back in my home country in Zambia, in the information technology department, the IT department of MTN in Zambia, and that was in 2009. And in there, I loved what I did. I came out of the technology department and then I read technology studies, and I realized actually working in technology, that is what exactly I was supposed to be doing. And I loved it, And Mary Rose will tell you, because she's also from a technology background, right? Technology is one of those areas, by the way, that you can get away with not talking to your coworkers. I loved it. I would sit in my corner with my laptop, dealing only with ones and zeros, fixed input, fixed output. I'll be there at 8, I'll leave at 5. And actually, I was a star performer in technology, even without speaking to anybody. So I loved my life, And I stayed in that role for about 2-3 years. And actually, I didn't see myself going anywhere else. I was great at what I did. I loved what I do. Unlike many people, actually, I was even working in a field that I had studied. How many of us know that you study and then you find yourself somewhere else. But it was one of the rare cases that I studied technology, I'm working in technology, young manager, MTN, a prestigious-ish company, so I should be doing great, right? And I was fine, and I wasn't going to go anywhere, to be honest. I was happy with where I was. I got married when I was in MTN, in my last year in this role, I got pregnant with my son. Life was good. All right, life was good. Until one day, there's a lady who came to see me. And it's important that you have sisters, right? And I'm so happy that you guys have each other. Because this sister of mine in the corporate environment, she came to me and she was super frantic, not understanding why she hadn't seen my name on a list of people who had applied for a certain role in marketing. Because in her mind, I was the best and perfect person for the job. So she comes to me, Mitwa, I haven't seen your name on the list of applicants for this marketing role. So what am I going to do in marketing? I'm from technology. I'm living the dream. I studied technology, coming in, sitting in my corner, ones and zeros, don't need to talk to anybody. I leave at the end of the day, and I, according to all my measures of success, is successful. So she goes, no. Anyway, long story short, she convinces me, hook or crook, throw in the application. And I think I threw in the application really just to get her off my back. So I threw it in, and I said, nothing is going to come of this because I'm a technologist. No business in marketing, right? Until I got called for the interview. Then I'm like, oh my gosh, now I need to understand what the role is about. So I started stretching myself a little bit, trying to understand, okay, so this role, let me read a little bit about it again, Googled, so what is this product development in marketing really about? What is the industry about? What does marketing in telecommunication actually mean? And even more than that, I started to speak to people who have been in the role before, who are in the same department as this role, and I even went as far as speaking to the guy who was hiring for the role, which is something that we very rarely do. Exactly. But who is the best person to tell you what is wanted of the person in the role? Is it not the person who's hiring?
Exactly.
All right, so knocked on the guy's door. His name was Ernst Fontanel, a guy from South Africa actually, and I asked him, what are you looking for in this role? And it turns out the phase in which the marketing department was in, they really needed somebody who understood the capabilities of systems and things like that in order to develop products that have never been seen in the market. So I'm like, hello, that sounds like me, So long story short, I got the role. And when I tell my story now, and I was looking at the definition last night about growth mindset and fixed mindset, it's only when my mindset started to change that actually my progression began. Okay? So it's only when I started seeing myself stretching a little bit more out of that comfort zone that I actually started to move. It never happened before then. I had never thought of moving to marketing. But the question that I always ask myself, even today, based on that learning, is what challenge am I running from? What challenge am I running from? Because you'll find the challenge that you're running from, or the discomfort that you're running from, is where the growth actually is. All right? Question number one. What challenge today are you running from? Because that's probably where your growth is. And I'll come back to that point. Please remind me if I forget, because I talk a lot. So if I forget, I have one more point on this challenge question. So I'll come back to that. Anyway, so I move into the marketing department and I know nothing, right? I'm a technologist. I have no idea what this marketing thing is about. But again, the world is your oyster, right? There's so much information at our disposal these days. There's so many people who are more knowledgeable than us. So I learned everything that I know today about marketing, about sales, about commercial. Please understand, I have learned on the job in the last 10 years. Understand that. And when you do, you realize that it has nothing to do with the technical training that you obtained in school. If you're interested in an area, you can learn. I'm living proof of it. When I'm in the office these days and I'm challenging people like Mary Rose, customer experience and its revenue, I speak like I studied the stuff. I did not. I pretty much learned on the job. But also it was about being honest with what I don't know, right? Because there's so many circumstances where we're in meetings and people talk about all these acronyms, especially in the telecoms environment. They're notorious for acronyms, and I'm sure in the banking sector as well, right? So it's BSC, TEX, da, da, da. And you have no idea what they're talking about, but raise your hand, You have to acquire the knowledge in order to get better. So I learned. And I learned and I learned and I learned. And 2-3 years later in this role, I was comfortable.
I like the formats.
No problem. I am now a product development lead in marketing. I'm using all my ones and zeros from IT. I'm developing now innovative solutions because that's what the department wanted. And I, for one, am yet again comfortable. And I didn't see myself, again, like my experience in IT, I didn't see myself moving from there either. So I was, now borrowing your words, I was fixed. I grew, and then I became fixed again, you know? And I was comfortable. And like I said, by all measures of my success, all my measures of success, I was successful. Until I got a new boss, all right? And this new boss, a Ghanaian guy, he walks in and he pulls us into a conversation one-on-one. He's the senior guy, so he's looking to meet all his direct reports, right? And he asks me a question. Mitwa, really nice to meet you. I hear you're really good at what you do. You came from IT, right? Ah, fantastic. So you develop products in marketing, great. Innovation, blah, 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 blah. But one question for you, please. Where are you going? No, I just arrived. Where are you going? And I promise you, this question, it seems so simple, but I had no answer for the guy. No answer. Where are you going? You're coming into work every day, 8 a.m. I had extended now from the 5 to the 8 p.m. So working 8 to 8 and really feeling happy at doing what I did. But did I have views of where I wanted to go next? Absolutely not. So I gave him a wishy-washy answer. I want to be a successful executive one day. And he goes, okay, that's great. So an executive in what? You come from IT. So are you going to be an executive in IT? You're in marketing today. Are you going to be an executive in marketing? There's so many functions in the business. Are you going to be an executive of mobile money? What exactly do you want to be? And I still couldn't answer this man. And he was coming from the outside in, and someone had built a perception around Zambians not being ambitious, you know? Then he goes, oh my God, you Zambians, you can't answer this question about where you want to go. Please get out of my office. He threw me out, literally. No, true story. He throws me out and he goes, in 2 weeks' time, I want you to come and answer the question, where are you going? And then we can have a conversation. So I went and I scratched my head and I was thinking, oh, this guy is just being so dramatic. Is this the way a new leader is supposed to enter an organization? I don't know. But anyway, 2 weeks later, I walk into his office and I say, I've thought about where I want to go. And actually, I would like your job. True story, yeah? And he laughs still today. The guy is still in Zambia because he retired there. But I said, I want to be a chief of marketing, you know? And did I know whether I'm going to be a chief of marketing one day or not? No. But I just felt like, well, if I'm doing a part of his role today, there's probably just another half that I need to learn before I actually get there, right? Because guess what? Every time he was not there, who was acting? Me. Every time the CEO has a question and he can't reach the CMO, who was the CEO calling? So surely there must be something there that people see, and maybe it's not fully formed yet. So let's see. Let me throw my hat in the ring. One day I want to be a CMO. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but one day and he says, this is fantastic that you now know where you are going. Now you want to be a CMO, but let me tell you now why you are not a CMO. All right? And it's super important also, in you establishing where you want to go, you know exactly where you are today, yeah? Because that's where the growth opportunity is. And he told me in this conversation that you come from a technology background, and those who are in the corporate organizational world, it's also important to understand the types of organizations you work for. Somebody was asking me about whether corporate, as a side note, as to whether corporate politics is bad. Because we always see corporate politics as bad. And I always say corporate politics is not bad, it's not good, it just is. It just is. And there's nothing you're going to do about changing corporate politics. You just need to know that it's there and know how to navigate around it, right? So the guy told me, you come from IT and there is nobody in the whole 21 operations of MTN Group today who comes from an IT background who is a CMO. You have to understand that. So you want to be a CMO? Fantastic. In your group today, I'm telling you, there's nobody with an IT background. They were coming from, the communications, the charismatic guys. Yeah, like Madame over here. The guys who can speak like, they've been speaking since they exited the womb. And I had But I was so determined. I said, you know what? For everything that I lacked, you have to teach me, because he was one of those charismatic communication type guys. And he says, fantastic. Now at least you're clear where you want to go and what you are not. Good. You don't have anything around communications, the core marketing stuff, the segment stuff. So let's rotate you and this lady. She comes into product development, and the head of comms, you replace her in comms. And I was like, how hard can comms be? Really? Comms, just put some artwork on a billboard. You know, this is what I thought. And I went into that environment and I knew nothing. But again, with that spirit of whatever I don't know, I'm going to learn, I learned a lot in that role. The first 2 months, I didn't speak to anybody similar to my IT department, behind my laptop, really trying to understand what exactly is marketing and comms and all these trade activations, etc., etc. What are all these things about? And long story short, it is from that role in my 2 months of rotation that I was hired as a CMO in another company, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
you know, if you ask me growth mindset and how it influences your career progression, and it's not only about career progression because our paths are all different. We have entrepreneurs as well. It's when that thought really clicks in your mind that there is no way I'm going to bed tonight the same as I woke up this morning. There's definitely something that I did not know waking up this morning, and are you satisfied to go to bed without having acquired that skill, that piece of knowledge? And like I said, it's only when this clicked for me that now, from one role to another, I've been able to move from marketing to commercial to eventually CEO, probably like 5-6 years ago. And you know, a lot of people ask me, okay, but you're so young. Can we maybe talk about that? Because that's probably what's going on in people's minds, you know? You're so young. And I say, yeah, I mean, I can't do any, there are two things I can't do anything about, right? I can't do anything about my age. I can't do anything about being a woman. Yeah. I mean, I am who I am. But I'm on my fourth CEO role here in Cameroon. And I'm turning 40 this year. You know?
Big party coming up.
And I owe a lot of who I am today and where I've come from and how I've come through to many things, and we don't have enough time to talk about all of them. But that spirit of, you know what, I may not know today, but I want to be there, I will learn. And people ask me all the time, I tell this story, by the way, in different shapes or forms and different durations to many different people. And the question always comes, okay, so now you're the CEO of MTN Cameroon. Surely you've arrived. Surely, right? Surely. So again, Mitwa, where are you going? I still ask myself this question even till today. And people like Mary Rose, they'll tell you, because I speak about it very openly, even within the office. So where do you want to go, Mitwa? No, I said, one day I'd like to be a regional director. Maybe one day I'd like to manage more than one country. But I know I don't have that wherewithal that my current vice president of the region has. But guess what? Somebody told me when I came to Cameroon that you are a CEO of a continent. Right? That's what I was told. Galaxy. Yeah, galaxy. So everything happens for a reason. So now you must see me. I treat Cameroon like it is a region. And that's why you'll see I am in the north yesterday, tomorrow I am in the east, and then I'm in the south. She doesn't know that that's why I do that. But I am preparing myself for my vice president role, which normally it must come after this, right? So whatever it is that I don't know, and there are many things that I don't know today. And coming back to, nobody reminded me, but coming back to the point about running away from your challenges. Because we find also our default nature is to spend time doing the things that we are good at. And I'll share with you personally, even in my role today, I've told you the journey I've come through, from technology to commercial. So guess where I think I am most good at? Technology and commercial, right? Mm-hmm. And Mary Rose will tell you she's smiling because when I just came into Cameroon, I mean, the areas that I go after first, commercial, and then technology, commercial, she'll tell you. But most recently, I've started challenging myself a bit more, and I'm sharing very openly in the hope that it can help someone as well. I've started asking I've started reminding myself of that question, right? So if you want to be a regional director one day, what is it that a regional director does? What are those challenges that in today's current role you're running away from. There are things that I like least about my job. And because among sisters, I'll share them, right? Maybe two. As a CEO, one of the jobs that we have, you have to deal with shareholders and their issues. And this is the part I like the least, right? Because it's a lot of discussion and alliances and political managing. And I just like the ones and zeros, right? So I found, even in my coming to Cameroon, the shareholder discussions were coming this way, and I was walking towards commercial and technology in that way. But something I realized also in the last couple of weeks, and I shared this with Mary Rose, she'll tell you, I started asking myself, if I'm not doing that, which is the role of the CEO, that means nobody's doing it for the company, right? So I've started asking myself another next level growth mindset kind of question, that anytime I'm faced with something to do, I ask myself, is it really only me who can do this in this company? Anything that I'm engaged on today, someone comes, Mitwa, we have this problem, ABCD, ABCD, fantastic. At the back of my mind, I'm going, okay, is it only me who can solve this problem? If it's not, then I'm diverting you. Because I have also a role to play, and while I'm not playing that and I'm playing another role, I'm also doing a disservice to the company. So I too am still growing. So shareholders is one of them. Stakeholders is another one, right? Especially around the political realm. So I came into Cameroon, and you guys read the news, right? So there's so many things going on with MTN, and I started finding myself using a bit of a crutch, Oh, but I don't speak the language, I don't speak French. And I would see those engagements with, I'll not name them, but you know them, those guys coming this way, and I'll be walking towards commercial and technology the other way. And I realized, for as long as I'm not forming those relationships that I need to form, as challenging and as uncomfortable and as less of a strength it is for me, then nobody's doing it for the company. So the growth mindset space that I'm in today is in really challenging myself to do only the things for the company that only I can do. Because if I'm not doing them, then nobody's doing them for the company. So that's a bit about who I am and where I've come from. And I think it's a great introduction to maybe a few questions.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a very exciting. Mitwa, you've made a lot of interesting points, but the point of the question that I kept asking myself, maybe I missed it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see, how did you actually move into the CEO position?
Right.
Because one of the things that we all want to do is we want to sit in that boardrooms that you're in. And we know there are some lessons, some courses, some practical or theoretical things that we need to do.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that we have to do? Or how did you get started?
Yeah.
How did you get there?
Yeah. No, thanks for that. And I glazed over it, but let me spend a bit of time on that. So my first CEO role was actually in Senegal, in a company called Tigo. And I was coming from Benin, where I was a CMO, so I was the head of marketing with MTN. And I left MTN. I don't like talking about this period because the MTNers, they But anyway, so I left MTN for a few years into a wider role, a chief commercial role. So I had marketing, sales, customer experience. And I left because, again, it was a wider role. I didn't know anything about sales, about customer experience, but I thought, I can probably learn the same way I have over the last few years. But holding on to that question, where am I going? And, and please, when people are telling their stories, they only tell the nice side, right? And it's only because of time, right? For every good story that I'm telling you, there are probably 10 bad ones. So it always hasn't been hunky-dory either. But for that question, where am I going? In my first conversation with my new boss in Senegal, where I was joining his team as the chief commercial officer, he's obviously introducing himself, introducing the business. This is what I need you to focus on. These are the areas where we have vulnerability, and the conversation is about to end. And I ask him, and I tell him, I say, it's great, I'm really happy to be here, but you haven't asked me where I would like to go. This is your first week in the office, I said, no, it's fine. It's just important that as my line manager, you understand where it is that I would want to go, so that if there are any areas of opportunity that you can think I can gain experience in that, please throw me in that direction. So he asked me now, so where do you want to go? Aha, now you've asked me, right? So I told him, I said, I'm CCO today, head of commercial, but one day I would like to be a CEO. I had no idea, listen, that I would be a CEO one day, no idea. But I was aspiring, right? There has to be that path to go up. So I told him I want to be a CEO, so please, I come from technology, I come from marketing, I'm now going to be full commercial. I have no idea about finance, no idea about HR, no idea about ABCD. So if there are projects or initiatives or business problems that you want solved, no matter how busy I am, please know that I would like to jump in there. And that is exactly what he did. There was a problem with the labor unions in HR. Hey, Mitwa, you said you want to be a CEO, right? Go and help the head of HR, you know? Mitwa, the business plan is late. Can you go and check in on CFO? What's happening there? Maybe he needs some commercial support. So I traveled through various projects in the organization in my CCO role,
Wow.
not in my CEO role yet, just to really try and learn. And to your point, did I sacrifice a lot? Of course I did. What did it mean? It meant that I spent a lot of time in the office. It meant that I burnt a lot of midnight oil really trying to read and understand, so what does the labor law actually say? What am I going to say when I meet the unions on behalf of the CEO? All those things. But I promise you again, for every good story, 10 bad ones, so don't forget that. But when my boss now resigned, 6 months into my being there, I got a call from his boss saying, you're up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because in
Succession
each of the
planning.
conversations that he would be in, and he's like, oh, you know, I'm running this HR program, but Mitwa is there. You know, I'm running this finance program. Oh, I asked me to do this. Oh, I'm in this, you know, indirectly, I was also getting him to promote me. So by the time his boss was asking him, okay, you say you are leaving. Is there anyone in your team who you think can take over? He says, yes, of course. I've had this lady in training for the last 6 months. Mitwa is your girl. And that was how I got my first CEO role. Now listen, I was appointed CEO. Did I know how to be a CEO? I had no idea. Zero idea, you know? But again, who am I? What challenges am I running away from? Every single day, I was learning and growing and experimenting and not even being afraid of failing, right? And let me say, this last statement I've made, it's only now that I can say this, but I promise you, when I was first appointed CEO, and I told this story to the ladies at the office, I had these views of what a CEO should be. Of course, I had gained some experience through all the projects and engagements, but I remember from my first appointment as CEO, from my very first day, I even changed, right? So a CEO normally must be wearing suits, right? So, and you see how I'm dressed today. So this is not a suit kind of girl, right? But anyway, I believed in my mind as a CEO, pinstripe suits, and I wore pinstripe suits like for the first 1 month, you know? And I also realized something, that every time I stood up to speak, because CEOs are asked to speak all the time, so Madam CEO, speak to staff, speak to this, and I remember how I used to feel, number one, so uncomfortable, and I used to lean on what I thought CEOs are supposed to say. There are certain words, buzzwords that CEOs use. It's about the strategy and the transformation, and, you know, ecosystem, and I used to use those words a lot. And I remember this one, the last time I did that, I got off the stage and a guy in my team, a guy Hichem, this Algerian guy, you know, Algerians are not very shy to talk. So he's like, you know what, Mitwa, you've spoken to the team for the last 30 minutes and it was great, but I can tell you your message did not land at all, you know? So it was in that moment, and to your point, somebody was talking about feedback. You were talking about feedback. Through this growth journey I've been on as well, I've found myself being more and more open to feedback. Feedback is a gift, guys, I promise you.
Yes.
I mean, feedback, what is feedback? You take it or you leave it, but you must be open to receive it. So in that moment, I decided, no, hang on, I can't be somebody else. I can't be this picture of a CEO that I think I should be. I really should just be me. It has also been part of my growth journey, and that's why you see over the last few years, even till now, even till this day in K Hotel, I just show up as me. And I hope that, you know, through the experiences that I've had and the stories that I tell, that somebody will learn something. But if you were to ask me how I moved from the C-suite to eventually CEO, it was exactly still coming back to that question, where are you going? And making it clear that the people around you actually know the answer to your question.
I think I was just saying right now, I don't like the scripts
Yeah.
because the scripts really limit us. And I do know that everybody is burning with questions. So I'm going to, unfortunately, Nelly, I'll just scrap some of those questions.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you one question from me.
Sure.
And then I'll open the floor so that we make this a little bit more interactive and conversational.
Yeah.
Now, we work in some companies or some organizations where everything is negative, where people are always thinking about, I'm going to shine, I'm going to block your shine. I'm not going to give you the opportunity to move on to the next step or to move on to the other step. There is this negative vibe around team. People hide information from people so that they don't get that spotlight. People actually refuse people from participating or taking part in growth programs like these.
Right.
And as a CEO, you influence policies. I mean, you can say, okay, this is what you used to do in the past.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that anymore. If you see something that you feel will help you to work with me better, let me know and I'll give you the authorization or It's also about training the line managers and the immediate supervisors to understand that we can learn at work.
Yeah.
But there is a lot out there that we can learn and bring in there. How do you advise us, especially because most of the ladies I see in here are in leadership position, they take action and they make decisions. How do you advise us to develop a mindset where the organization is not stopping or tying people down to don't do this, don't do that, don't grow from beyond, stay where you are.
Yeah.
So how will you advise them to? And after this question, please feel free, Nelly, Mike, feel free to ask a question because she's already covered most of the things that were most of the questions that I had on my list. So thank you.
No, listen, I mean, the good thing about talks like this is that there's no right or wrong answer, right?
Exactly.
It's just my experience that I can share. And luckily, my experience is not wrong. It's just my experience, right? And I think I touched upon it briefly around organizational politics, because that's what I'm sort of hearing you saying. And then there's also a bit of the other part, which I'll address in a minute. But I've learned recently, and I've had many experiences myself. So, number one, as a young Black woman, rising through the ranks, I've had my fair share of incidents or, engagements that I've classified as organizational politics. And through my growth journey, in my very early stages, if I hear something that was negatively said by this person about me, I would normally just then, okay, you're off my list, so I now start avoiding you, right? This is the normal course of, we're human at the end of the day. So Mary Rose, super negative person, organizational politics, said something about me, misconstrued my actions to try and seem it like it was something else. Okay, therefore Mary Rose is off my list. I no longer engage with her to avoid, and what do the young ones say these days? Protect my peace, right? Protect my peace. Until I had a conversation with a coach once, and we started talking about organizational politics, and the statement that I made earlier, I stole from this conversation. And I asked him, I said, what are your views on organizational politics and how we must deal with them? Because this is essentially the question that you're asking.
Yes.
And the answer he gave me then has really stuck with me till now, to say, politics, in as much as we associate everything negative with it, you have to understand that it's not good, it's not bad, it just is, all right? And I think with the generations that are changing, the culture of leadership and organization is also changing, but the reality is, in the generation that we are now, organizational politics still exists. Yes. So he gave me a few practical things to try, which maybe I can share with you. Mm-hmm. So number one, in you being clear in terms of where you want to go, what you are today, and the things that you need to do to get there. Number two, you have to understand who is who in your zoo, right? Who is
the lion,
who
is the tiger
in your zoo. And sometimes, by the way, because we've moved around in various positions in the companies and maybe even moved amongst companies, we almost rely on our intuition to know who is who. So normally if I'm the head of HR, my stakeholders are ABCD, or normally if I'm finance or procurement, my stakeholders are ABCD. But have you ever taken the time to actually map them out? Have you ever taken the time to actually write them down? Because when you do, you realize that quite a number of people who you've left out. Trust me, I did this most recently with my move to Cameroon because I tend to do it when I transition. And I've been super busy over the last 9 months. About a month ago, I said, oh, okay, I missed the step about mapping my stakeholders. And I didn't even think about external stakeholders first. No, even stakeholders within my own company. And when I say my own company, I mean the guys who are within the group and also within the local operating company. So I put down, okay, group CEO, group CFO, and I mapped them. Okay, so the health of the relationship, green, red, amber, frequency of engagement, green, red, amber, importance of the relationship, green, red, amber. And when I was done, I realized I had a lot of red. Not because there is anything negative happening, but I just haven't been proactive about nurturing and understanding which relationships are important to help me fulfill what it is that I'm trying to fulfill today. And I'll maybe share this tip with you. And I'll challenge you guys, please, just do the exercise, just out of my own interest. Do the exercise by the end of the day. Your exco, your management team, all those people who you think are the ones who can influence or block or decide, put all of them down and you'll find that negative sentiment that you were referring to, it is probably just 1 or 2 people when there are 10 others who can also support you.
Yes.
But we very rarely map our stakeholders. It's very rare that we're deliberate about mapping us. We rely on our experience, right? So I was an HR coordinator, and normally as my HR coordinator, I was dealing with ABCD. Now I'm head of HR. Normally these are the guys, but you'll find you're only dealing with 25% of the people who you should be dealing with. And also, it's not just about the relationships that you form with them, it's also about how they can influence the negative guys as well. So I really want to go for this corporate and women in leadership program. It's because I see myself as a chief one day. I'm doing all this growth development stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure if I'm going to get the time off. You'll find in those conversations where you're not present, oh, I heard that so-and-so wants to go on this program. What do you think? And they also start influencing the thinking from there. So I've changed my views around organizational politics, knowing that I cannot change it. I can influence what happens within MTN Cameroon, but even that is going to take time, right? I'm only one person. In fact, the leadership team infects the whole organization. It's a culture that we've built over years, right? So it's going to take time to change. That I even have influence over. But there's a whole stakeholder ecosystem around me that I have zero way of influencing, maybe through conversations or my brilliance or my results, I don't know, but it's much more difficult for me to influence others. So what do I do instead? I play the game as well. And not play the game in a cynical way, no. It's to play the game so that at the end of the day, when you want to achieve what you want to achieve, you know who it is that is important to support you to actually get there. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's one of the tips.
Very
one
well.
Of the practical tips that
very well.
And it's very new, by the way. It's very new. This is me like in the last 2 months, because I realized, okay, and I have to be honest, because like, okay, there's certain people even within my group, Mary Rose, you'd know them, I speak to almost every day. There may be 2 or 3 within my group exco. And I realized, oh my goodness, I'm coming now to 9 months in the company, and I last spoke to person A, B, C, or D only when there's a big meeting like this. And then I'm surprised when he or she does not support me. He doesn't know me. Right? So he can only support me and understand all the intentions that I have, which I believe are good, if he actually has a relationship with me. So now I'm taking a step back. And just so you know, so next week I have one-on-ones with 3 of those people who were red. So let's see how that journey also unfolds. It's important. It's something that I learned recently, but you have to be deliberate.
Wow.
You have to be deliberate.
That's intentional. So we're going to take questions now. We've got first hand there. Third hand here. Fourth, fifth. Okay, at some point...
I can't promise I have all the answers there. Mary Rose will answer some.
Yes.
No, but these ones are for you,
Sure.
Mitwa. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Barbara Mill. I'm Communications and Sustainability Manager at IHS Cameroon.
Oh, wow, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Well, I have these gender issues for the corporate environment, and I wish to hear from your experience as a female leader, as a female manager in your career growth path, which were the most impactful decisions you were to take as a female, and secondly, how do you manage life balance, work, managerial position,
family, and so forth, without having one part of your life suffering
Yeah.
from missing you
Yeah.
at a point. Because
Yeah.
as a female leader, you are here now, it's 9:30 or 10 a.m.
Yeah.
At 12 noon, you might be in Yaoundé, and then you might end up your day in Gawa, who never knows. And you have people there that are waiting for you. Mommy, I need this and that.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Can
No,
you
no,
share
no.
that
Actually,
with us? Thank you.
today is a very classic example because so I haven't been in the office yet because I live on this side of town. So it didn't make sense for me to go to the office and then come here. So I stayed at home just so I could catch up on some work. And because I did that, then I couldn't drive my son to school. So he had to go to school. And then I'm here now and I'm actually calculating, will I make it to the office or should I just go and work from home? Because at 1 p.m. I have my son's graduation, you see. So, so it's all these juggling of balls. But to answer maybe both of your questions through this lens, I think I hinted on it earlier. So the other way that question has been phrased to me before is that how does it feel or what do you do to succeed as a female executive, right? And I always laugh at this question, not yours, but this other framing of the question, because I say, well, I wake up in the morning not thinking I am female, right? I just am, and I don't know how to be anything else, you know? What I do want to be and think about doing is being a good executive, and that's what I focus on, right? So like I said earlier, there are two things I can't change, my age, well, three actually, my age, my race, and my gender. And I love the combination of the three, by the way. I love it because in the telecommunication industry, it's such a high tension, high pressure industry that you need the energy. And you need to sustain your energy as a leader, to sustain the energy in the team. So I rely a lot on my youth, right? So that's certain things that I can't change. But anyway, I can talk about that for another day. But coming back to your question, there are a couple of things that I've learned in my journey, right? So number one, that naivety that I have, that this my combination of three, it works for me. I've learned over the years that that's not the view that is shared by everybody, right? The fact that there's such an injustice in this world, at least in my opinion, around the level of female representation, whether in corporate or leadership, it is not a sense or belief that is held by everybody. And I'm going to say a lot of things, and hopefully through the lot of things that I say, I answer your question, but we've been having these conversations also within MTN, because MTN, I'm guessing just like IHS, we actually have even now KPIs. When you talk sustainability, we actually have KPIs now that say by such and such a time you must have X% of women at the board, in the leadership teams, in the organization. As MTN, we've even gone as far as saying from the group president that by 2030, 50% of the workforce must be female, all right?
Wow.
And when he made this statement, our group president, and this was about 3 years ago, when he made the statement, guess what the women were doing? You know, finally, somebody who gets it, you know? But then as we travel on, realize that in as much as the bold statement has been made, it is not a view that is shared by, oh, we are African, we know this thing. We know this thing, right? So some of the conversations we're having now is that actually how can we even facilitate the conversation? And I give this example all the time when I talk about this. Not that it necessarily happened, but I can only imagine. When I was appointed to come to MTN Cameroon, there's a very nice article. I thought it was nice. There's a very nice article that came up. There were three faces of three ladies, right? Because I was appointed at the same time as two of my other female CEO colleagues in Rwanda and in Uganda, the lady who took over from me. And our pictures were splashed on this article, and the headline of this article, "Who runs the world? Girls." You know, and I thought, whoa, fantastic article. But you know, through the feedback I got, you know, either through in Rwanda, back home in Zambia, maybe even some of the feedback here, they're like, yeah, you know, when that article came out, people started wondering, so have these women been appointed because they're women or because they're actually competent for the role, you know? So some of the things that we're doing now is actually fostering and facilitating the conversation. By the time you have a KPI around driving representation, you have to understand that it's not only women who are going to be doing the hiring. And by the time it's not only women who are doing the hiring, women who by nature understand the problem a bit more, you have to have the conversation with the men. And you also have to be open to the fact that some of the men will say, I don't agree. Because, at the end of the day, if we say this women thing, and it's called that, this women thing should be progressed the way it is, then what should happen to the men? Right? Yeah. For the last maybe 4 CEO appointments at MTN, all the CEO appointments have been women. And it's got the men feeling like, okay, so I also have aspirations to be CEOs as men, so what happens? So those conversations we're now deliberately trying to open up to actually even get the sentiment and the feeling of the men, because we're assuming that everybody's on the same boat as us, but it's actually not the case. And it's no fault of theirs, by the way. It is founded in so many, or at least deeper in so many different things: our cultural background, our upbringing, this continent that we live on, and there's so many things. But for as long as we don't start having the conversation, and I know I've skewed a little bit, but only because you said you're the head of sustainability as well, that if you're thinking, I need to drive female representation in the organization, and you haven't yet opened up the space for the conversation, then very unlikely that you'll be making progress, right? You'll be pushing the KPI, I don't see the women, but the people who are supposed to be doing the hiring of those women maybe are not of the same view. So we're trying a few things, and maybe I can share with those over coffee. But coming back to now, me individually, have I made sacrifices over the years? Oh, many. many. And whenever I'm asked this question, I always go back to my time in Senegal when I was first appointed CEO. Because to your point, I was trying to do everything. There was this article that was circulating at the time. Yeah, women can have it all. Like, are you sure? So I tried. I was trying to be 100% the CEO, 100% the wife, 100% the mother, and us girls in South African culture, 100% the daughter. I was trying to do it all. And I remember one day so vividly in my mind, I came home and I had just had it up to here. Because as much as I was trying to push all these things, I realized that I was being 50% at all of them. Everybody, my mom's telling me you don't call me enough. My son's telling me, Mom, you missed this play date, and company's not doing that great either. And I just burst out into tears. So I called my sister, as any girl would do, and I said, I don't know what to do. I missed my son's play date today, and he's super upset. But how am I supposed to keep up with all these play dates as well? I mean, I'm working during the day. And then I started complaining about my nanny, the lady who helps me take care of my son. This lady, she's not doing the shopping, she's not writing the list right. Even when she does the shopping, she's not buying the right stuff. She's there picking up my son from school, but why is she not making the play dates with other parents? I don't understand. And my sister just burst out laughing. I was in tears. And she told me, she says, I don't think you need a nanny, I think you need a wife. And in that moment, coming back to sacrifices and what I've done to try and overcome them, I told her, I think you're right. I think I need to get myself a wife. So since then, my first CEO role in Senegal, everywhere I've moved after that, I've moved with a cousin of mine because I just can't do it all. It's impossible. But also, in me carrying my cousin along, by the way, she's here with me in Cameroon as well. She's the one who's probably ironing my son's suit. I have no idea what he's wearing at 1 p.m. But I know because she's there, I'm covered. But also, I've had to let go of the guilt, right? Because as women, so I'm not doing the cooking, I'm not doing the play date making. Oh my God, the guilt. You're only one person with the same 24 hours as everybody else. So I've had to train myself every day. Mitwa, that mommy guilt that you have, let it go. Let it go. And there's no right or wrong path, right? They're just paths. There's some women who have chosen to be at home, and that's not what I've chosen. I've chosen to be in the corporate environment. I've chosen that maybe it's going to be a vice president role someday. So I've tried to create now structures and systems around me that can allow me to do what it is that I'm trying to pursue. But you have to let go of the guilt. And when I tell you sacrifices, I give examples of my son, but I'll tell you a very funny story in ending. I remember living in Ghana for like a year and a half. And I went to my son's school on the first day to drop him off. And then 1.5 years passed, And of course, I was there, I was mothering, my husband was there in and out, and my cousin was there managing. And it's only when we decided to leave Ghana that I had to fill in a transfer form, and the form had to be physically taken to the administration of the school. Did I realize I don't even know where the admin block is? 1.5 years later, I had no idea. Now imagine, my dear, the guilt. But I have chosen, I let go of the guilt. There will be sacrifices that I'll continue to make and that I've made I've missed weddings. I'm not from Cameroon, you know. I've missed weddings, I've missed funerals, I've missed meetings at my son's school. Just yesterday, my son, well, our school director is leaving, so they had a bit of a farewell. And of course, they invite all the parents and all the kids. And I get home, I'm super exhausted. And I've completely forgotten about this farewell gig that is happening right now. And my son is fully dressed. Why? What are you dressed for? It's like, we're going for the farewell dinner of the director. I said, I'm exhausted. He said, okay, fine, I'll go with the driver. And he left. And in that moment, I could have said, no, stay. Or could have broken myself and said, no, let's go. But at the end of the day, who am I trying to please? I would do what I can with the resources and the time that I have, but I have to let go of the guilt. So he went for the farewell. He was probably the only kid there without his parents, poor child. But you know, over the years, I've built systems and structures that support me. And on top of that, when I can make the time, not when, I try to make the time. So Monday to Friday, you see me going super hard at work. Over the weekend, you cannot find me, you know, because I'm at home trying to catch up with my husband, trying to catch up with my son, and even with that, by the way, there are sacrifices, right? Because the social side of work, which normally happens on Saturday and Sunday, whether we should be networking with the CFO of Gas to Cameroon, I'm missing those so I can actually attend to it. So it's a constant balance and dance. But if it's one thing that you take away from all these long stories, that you have to let go of the guilt and be comfortable in the sacrifices you make in honor of the dream that you have. Yeah.
Oui, je suis Madame P, responsable d'agence PCD, agence de liberté juste à côté de Cameroun. J'ai une question à poser, j'ai trouvé très intéressant parce que nous avons tout à l'heure. Mais sauf que je dis, comment nous essayons, nous, les femmes, comme le forum dit, impacter nos collaborateurs. Tous ces discours que nous portons là, c'est intéressant. Quand je vois le panel, je me dis que nous sommes déjà, nous ici peut-être présents, à notre niveau de leader. Comment impacter nos jeunes sœurs dans les entreprises? On a par exemple, ça c'est une idée que je donne comme ça, on a par exemple le mois de la femme, on va prendre ça comme ça, mars. C'est de voir comment vous qui êtes déjà dans les entreprises, comment elles s'organisent là-bas pour que les dames soient autant motivées comme vous pour pouvoir progresser dans l'entreprise. Pour que vraiment ce soit pour porter à l'entreprise, que ce soit nos jeunes sœurs qui ne travaillent pas, mais qui n'ont pas le même mindset que nous. Comment nous faisons? Parce que si on reste assis ici, je vous écoute, je suis très contente de vous écouter, de voir votre c'est excellent. Mais comment faire
actions? No, and I thank you for that. And to be honest, I think you've asked the question and answered it. So I don't take it more as a question, but as a provocation to all of us, because you're right. I also believe that, and maybe I go a bit philosophical, but I also believe that every gift that you have is not yours to keep, right? So you've been gifted things for others, actually. Even your presence here this morning, by the way, I think we decided like late yesterday that I would come. And there's probably one or two things that you've picked that have provoked you in your mind, but you must understand that the message that you have taken away is not necessarily for you, it is for somebody. It's for somebody else. So to your point, madam, it would be such a criminal offense. It would be such a criminal offense if everything that we've all acquired here, because I've also learned a few things even from the questions and the way I'm answering them. If you live here and you keep that to yourself, at the end of the day, there's so many women and girls, and even look back at your own life, right? Let me speak for myself. When I look back at my own career, it's only when people came and nudged me. The lady who was like, but Mitwa, I saw that job and you haven't applied. You can imagine if that lady did not come, I don't know where I would be today. If that CMO of mine did not ask me that question, where are you going? I probably would never have moved. And I can promise you that maybe 20 other people whose examples I can give like that in my life. Now the question is, how many people are you examples also to? right? So that everything that we're learning, everything that we're acquiring from each other is not for us to keep, it's really for us to impact the people who are around us. And with girls and women, and we've all been girls before, we know it, that we can do it actually. We can do it, we have it in us, but sometimes you just need that one person who is going to come and shake you. And I see it a lot, especially in the organizations, right? Because we have, a lot of organizations have these women networks and things like that, but people within the organization, they'll tell you, even the women's networks themselves, you'll find that even the women don't come. So we've created the platform, women come. So why are you not coming still? I remember in my previous job, we had this women development network inside the organization, and we had asked the ladies, what are the things that you think you need in form of support in order to progress? The first thing that came out, we want to improve our public speech, all right? Want to be able to stand up, get a mic, and be able to speak. Fantastic. Let me organize somebody to give a public speaking course. So I scheduled the public speaking course, and I didn't dial in to check who had joined the course. And I get a call from the lady who's facilitating the course at the end of the day, and she goes, Mitwa, how many women did you say you have? And I said, we have 88 in the company. She's like, wow, because only 5 showed up.
Oh my.
Yeah. But you know, after that, guess what? I got all the women in one room and I gave them a shake.
What about those who
and
cry when you're shaking them?
And I said, I'm gonna schedule the course again, and I'm not gonna check again with the lady as how many people joined. All right? So I scheduled the course, she had the course, and later on she asked me, she told me, she's like, oh, okay, I don't know what happened, but I had about 80 people in the course today.
Wow.
So to the lady's point, if we amongst ourselves are the ones who are not doing the shaking within the organization, within our teams, within the communities that we are in, whatever community that is, then who is? This is the job, to that earlier question, this is the job that only you as a woman can do. And if you're not doing it, nobody else is. Okay?
So before you ask your question, before she asks her question, I wouldn't want us to miss on breakfast, because breakfast is ongoing.
Sure.
And it is at this point that while you're responding to some questions, the tables can go in, get
Sure.
what they want to eat, and sit back so that we
Sure.
are in a much more relaxing mood.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Carmen Kwete, IT support at Gas
Facilitate breakfast.
Okay.
So I have 2 questions.
All right.
Which company?
The question is, for you, what is success?
Yeah.
And the second one is, during your career, how did you measure success?
Right. I have a very simple answer to this question, so no long discourse, because I have practiced the answer to that question so many times, to the point where I believe it and I live it. Success for me is progress. That's it, you know. If I can get up today and reconfirm to myself that I am stronger or better than I was yesterday, success. I've learned with time, because when you're younger, success is defined as a destination, right? So it's when I get there that I'm going to have achieved. And I'll tell you the trap in that, because I was like that. So I will be successful when I become a senior manager, right? Then you become a senior manager, then you're like, okay, so is this all there is? No, I'll be successful when I become a CMO. Then you become a CMO. Then you start looking around. And I've realized over time that actually it is not about the destination, it's about the process that I'm going through. And in that process, if I'm making progress, then that is success for me. Because also in life, and I'm sure we are mostly religious in this room, you know, in life you also know that you never know whether or not you get to that destination. I can be driving from here and then, you know, I'm called back to my maker. But for as long as I've progressed in my quest to achieve something, even if I don't get there, that progress for me is success. Like today now, I'm saying I want to be a vice president one day. And if I say that I am only successful if I do that, my God, what a depressing life I'll lead. Because I may get there, I may not. But if every day I'm trying different things, I'm, you know, living out of a suitcase the same way a vice president would because Cameroon is configured that way. Or if I'm engaging stakeholders that normally I wouldn't do because I'm, you know, just a CEO across the group, across the continent, okay, that's progress. And for me, that is success. Are you making progress? If you're not, then how can success also come? So success for me is progress. All right.
So my name is Clara Ngando. I'm the CFO of Magvians.
Okay.
PLC. Okay, so I spent a lot of time in Ghana.
Yeah.
I spent 17 years in Ghana.
Wow.
And I moved back last year, and I've worked in Cameroon for 1 year.
Okay.
So Marvians was like, it's not like I'm not appreciating Marvians, but
Yeah.
it was like a stepping stone back home.
Yes.
Now I want to move to
Yeah.
the next level.
Right.
And the next level is CFO of a bigger company.
Good.
So my problem, I've been thinking, I've had this worry. Is it through experience? What do I need
Yeah.
that MTN Cameroon
Yeah.
will see me from Marvians to be a good CFO for such a bigger company?
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
Yeah.
Go back to school, use my experience. How do I sell myself to
Yeah,
MTN?
yeah. No, for me, first and foremost, I love that you are clear, right? Because it's when you are clear that you can now start asking your questions as to the what. And for someone like you, I mean, my advice is only a guess, right? But for someone like you, I can only imagine that you interact a lot with partners like MTN, right? So in those interactions with partners like that, how are you showing up? You know, are you showing up as Mavians, or are you showing up as a potential CFO for MTN? Do you know what I mean? And let me speak directly to your experience, because I know Mavians quite well. You would know, for example, that MTN is trying to grow its collection values and things like that. But in those conversations with MTN, are you coming just to say how the business has been performing, or are you actually putting yourself in the shoes of a CFO of MTN and actually making recommendations as to what should be done? And it's in conversations like that that you start exposing people to the experience that you have. And even if there's no CFO role in the organization or the partner that you're interacting with today, the day that there'll be, and they see Clara, right? Okay, they see Clara's CV coming through. Hey, but that lady, when we spoke with her, she sounded like, I don't think you need to go back to school unless there's any technical certifications that you are missing. It's more just about, number one, how do you show up in the interactions that you have today? Number two, the example that I gave, or the advice that I gave around your stakeholders, nothing stops you as CFO, as Mavians today, to single out who are the people or the organizations that you'd like to work to, that you'd like to work for, and try and seek them out. By the way, one thing that we as women don't like to do is that, oh, I will not ask because they will say no. No, ask. Let them be the ones to say no. Are you going to die? No. So I want to see the CFO of MTN. I want to see the CFO of whichever company. I want to see the CEO. And you make the attempt. Try and build the networks with the companies that are of interest to you. And you never know through those conversations. And you don't make it about a job. It's just, I'm an executive in the industry, and I'd just like to meet, have a conversation, and you never know from those conversations what comes with it. Let me tell you something else also that should be encouraging to you. For the last 8 years, there is no job that I've gotten that I've applied for. All the jobs that I have had in the last 8 years have been recommendation. I have not applied for a single job. But why? One, how I've showed up, irrespective of who is in the room, because I don't know, tomorrow there may be someone here who will be a shareholder of another company, and I'll be walking through that door, and they'll be like, oh, Mitwa spoke so well that day. I think that's a CEO who you need to have a chat with. How you show up and how you build your networks, but build your networks deliberately. Don't just use that intuition muscle. Oh, okay, so we're in an environment like this, the CEO of MTN is here, so I'll speak with her. No, but what if she wasn't? You have to be creating very deliberate engagements with the people who you see could potentially be of influence to you, and not seeing yourself as a CFO of Mavians, no, but as a potential CFO of the companies that you admire. Okay, I'm going to take maybe one last question that I may have to run. Yeah.
Do you think, placed in a different situation,
Yeah.
you would be able, or you would want, or you would nurture
Yeah.
the desire
Yeah.
to be the CEO of your own company?
Yeah. Me personally?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
And if not, why?
Okay. And I'll be completely honest with you, because, by the way, it's a conversation I have with my husband all the time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm married. Yeah, I'm married. I didn't speak about the poor man. Like 1.5 hours later. No, I did that briefly. So I'm married, and so I'm the super corporate, right? I'm born and bred in corporate. I don't know anything else apart from corporate. And he is the exact opposite, all right?
So he's super entrepreneur. He's born and bred. He hasn't worked a day in his life for somebody else. Yeah, and he's built a company that he runs and so on and so forth. And one of the things that he's been challenging me on, similar to the way you are challenging me, is that, you're not going to live in corporate forever, right? So what is it that you would like to do when you hang up your corporate gloves? And the reason why I said I'm going to be honest in my answer is that really scares me. It really scares me because I've had the comfort of corporate all my life. And, I also think, and probably this is who you are, and one day I'll hear your story as well, is that the entrepreneurs who are successful or who are building levels of success are entrepreneurs typically in their line of gift. Yeah? So the only way you can sustain yourself through the very tough times is because that fashion thing is in you. You have not learnt it. Nobody can teach. It is just you wake up and you see colors, right? So that is you. It is who you are, and that's what you turn into your entrepreneurial journey. And now, when that question is asked me, so Mitwa, would you be an entrepreneur? I say, yes, I could, but I'm not clear yet enough in the what, and that scares me. So coming back to the conversations with my husband, and this conversation started a while back, and I've been complaining like, when it's time to invest, we only invest in your ideas. Then he goes, okay, fine, so come up with your ideas now. So every day I have a new idea. Like, I love to cook, so maybe I'd like to open up a restaurant. But the restaurant, it can't just be like a fufu kind. No. I want like a master chef exclusive, only 10 tables. And whenever I give the idea, he's like, great, so when do we start? No, but I have another idea, Now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we just bought a small farm at home, and I love to drink tea, and I love spices. So I'm like, okay, I want to grow tea, and then I grow spices. Then now I do like a blend of teas, which has never been done. Great. So now we have the land. Start. No. I have another idea, So do I wish, and by the way, there's so many people who've left the corporate world. And let me tell you a secret. Now, these corporate people will not tell you, but I will tell you. I've seen so many corporate leaders, executives, managers leave the corporate world. And us who remain, we admire them. We really admire them because they've done something that we want to do, but are too scared to do it. So if you're to ask me, do I see myself as an entrepreneur? Yes, I do. And it has to be soon. I just haven't figured out yet what it is that will allow me to live in my purpose so that no matter how tough it will get, because it does get tough, I'll be able to sustain and overcome. So we admire you, I'm telling you, we really do.
Let me give you the opposite.
Yeah. Okay.
So when I was young, I started all my own businesses alongside the corporate world. I burned 24/7. For 7 years, I killed myself, literally running a restaurant, running a property company, having a bar, lingerie shop. And then I decided, no, I need to find and strike a good balance.
Yep.
But I know one day I'll change from the corporate world because retirement will come.
Yeah.
And I've been working on ideas for a long time.
Yeah.
But I'll first go and travel and fulfill all my adventures.
Lovely.
And then I'll probably move into consulting and coaching.
Fabulous. So and also just speaking about consulting, so that's one of the things I'm leaning towards. See what I did there? Another idea, just like that. Because I'm discovering that I like to speak, right? So I like to speak, and I'm really fascinated most recently about corporate culture and how culture can influence strategy execution. So maybe somewhere along those lines, but I'll keep you posted to how I refine where I'll land. But I'm really pressured for it, not only because I can see the end of corporate coming, but also because I have a husband who's every day nagging, Yeah. All right, listen, I have to run. Okay.
Please, group picture. Before I say thank you, I know I'm going to say thank you on behalf of all of us. There were so many questions, so we couldn't take them all.
Yeah.
The lady on the side, Madame Therese, she made a very good point that I want us to see if we can adopt that. We can try and see how we can work with different
different companies. You know, we can do tour.
Yeah.
Elizabeth,
Yeah.
every 3 months or every 2 months, we go to one company, we speak to the ladies.
Yeah.
That way, we don't just wait for Women's Day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.